Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Now, in our last video we done the robustums, a really pretty spider, and everybody seems to be in love with those guys. They are really cool. Now today we're going to go to the opposite end of the scale, something that I think is equally just as exciting and just as awesome looking, but I know they do have their sort of people aren't too keen on some of them, and that is, of course, this is the Linothele sericata, which is a curtain web spider. Now it's often named the Colombian funnel web, and it's not really a funnel web. These have been renamed from they used to be Megalothelides, and they are now Linothele sericata. So they come from Colombia. They are very leggy. They have huge spinnerets, and I think they're really cool. So what we're going to do, we are going to try, it would have been nice to have had these in a glass tank, so we might do that later in the future. But we've got what we think is two females. Now these have all been wild caught, and they've come into the country, and there was a little influx of them. We managed to get these ones from Portsmouth Tarantulas, our friends over there. And so there's a good chance, being an adult female, that these guys will also be gravid already. So we picked up what we hope is two females. If we see a chance of a male anytime soon, then we'll grab that as well, because I think it would really be a nice thing to actually try and pair them and breed them ourselves. When you bring stuff in from the wild, we can't really say we've bred that. So that is what we call captive hatched. It's not something we've bred ourselves. So what we're going to do, we are going to put them in these tubs here. Now I've not tried it with these guys before, or any of the others. You know that we have the harmonicon, which is another sort of curtain web spider. We also have our funnel webs. We've kept them in different ways, but we've never kept them in these types of boxes. So we're going to try it with these two new sericata and see how they get on. I mean, it's literally the main thing to remember is that coming from Colombia, these guys do like a little bit of moisture. So we're going to stick a fair bit of potting compost in the bottom here. Put a fair bit. And then if they do want to actually dig down a little bit, they've got the option. They can get in there. But we don't want to put too much in, because they do web up a huge amount. They're really heavy webbers. Same as like our funnel webs and our harmonicons. They're all really great webbers. So we're going to have a real simple enclosure here. Very simple. Now we're also going to have, we're going to put a couple of just small lids in for water. And the reason we're just going to use these is because in no time at all these are going to disappear, and they're going to be webbed up and we'll never see them again. So there's no point putting larger water bowls in there at this time. What we'll do is we'll wait for them to completely web over, and then we'll pop another one of these lids on the top, and hopefully we can gain access to it then. But for the moment they're just going to literally bury everything in web. So what we're going to do now, very basic, we've got, this is our natural bark here that we've collected up, and we are going to literally just place that haphazardly. Now this is what we've collected, and when you get it like this, what we can do is we can literally just squeeze it like that, and it comes off in like shards, and then we can break them to the sizes that we want, and we can create a little bit of thing there so that they've got some decent anchor points. And then we're also going to put a piece in down there so that our spider has got somewhere to hide. Now, like I say, they will start webbing up immediately, but we're still going to try and give them that little bit of security. We're going to do the same on this one as well. Bring this one over here. So all we're doing is we're just aiming at getting some anchor points. That's all we want. And they will soon cover this. It won't take very long for them at all. So we're going to put a little piece in there as well, just so it's got somewhere really to be able to tuck itself away and hide should it want to. To be fair, once it goes up on the shelf, it's going to be nice and quiet and it's not going to bother it at all. We'll put that piece like that. And what I'm going to do with that bit, there we go. Just leave it like that. So it's got somewhere to go. It can hide away now. Somewhere to disappear to. Right. So we've got our boxes. Very, very simple setup. Now, coming from Colombia, these guys are going to want a reasonable amount of humidity. So we'll be looking up around about the 75% mark, maybe even up to 80%. It's not going to do them any harm whatsoever. And don't forget, humidity does not equate to wet substrate. So we're going to be looking at maintaining that humidity, but we don't want things to stay wet. Now with these containers, there is an option that they're going to actually sweat a little bit. So what we've done is we've drilled our holes in here. We've got 2 in each side on all 4 corners. And then we're going to leave the lid as it is. We're not going to put anything in that at the moment. And then what we'll do is we'll put that in there, and then hopefully that will maintain some of that humidity in there. And as we said on the robustums, if we get up to a point where we start collecting water droplets on the lid, then we can drill some holes in the lid and that should alleviate that. Or better still, we can get some mesh and just glue a panel of mesh in the top, which will give you far better ventilation than the holes will. There's plenty of places at the moment where you can buy literally discs of mesh, or you can buy the same mesh that you have on the fruit fly tubs. You can buy that in sheets, steel mesh, and you can get it in small sheets, and then all you got to do is cut it with scissors, and you can literally cut them to shape and then hot glue them into the lid, and that will give you far better ventilation than standard holes will. You can even do the same in the sides as well if you so wish. You know, it's a real easy way of doing it, and it's something that we will be doing later on. We're going to do a little bit more with the mesh ventilation, because it's something that you can actually control far better than just the holes. It's very difficult to control with just the holes alone. Right then, let's have a little look. Let's get my trusty brush. We got our catch cup there as well. I think what we'll do is we'll put these over there. Put them there so we've got them. Right, now then, let's have a look at these absolutely wonderful spiders. Now these guys aren't what we would class as particularly defensive. There we go, look at that. They're much rather run away than they will actually try and cause you any trouble. Now in terms of a bite, they appear to be very reluctant to bite, and their venom is what we would class as a mild venom. There has been a little bit of a study on these to see what type of venom they have. And venom's coded in different ways, but they have found two parts of their venom which is actually quite troublesome to things like mice when injected directly. So it's not something that we need to worry about. It's actually something that can muck around with mice, with their blood. Obviously theirs is different to ours. So very, very cool. Now these are very fast spiders as well. So what we're going to do, you can see the spinnerets on that, absolutely fabulous. All I'm worried about is as soon as she hits this, she's going to disappear. So we're going to try and get her to go onto this piece of wood here. Might be asking a bit too much actually, because it's a little bit high up. And she will like the security of her web. Well, she actually decided that she wanted to go in the other house. That's fine. See how fast it was? Very, very fast. I don't know if I can turn this around so you get the light. So I have to say, I'm sorry about the lighting here, guys. We need to pick up another blackout blind so that we can knock the window out and sort out some proper lighting in here because it's rather poor. Now, as you can see on there, look at that gold carapace there. It's absolutely stunning. Really, really pretty. And then you've got these massive spinnerets, very long legs. So they actually look similar to our funnel webs. Not as shiny though. You notice the legs are actually quite hairy, almost like a tarantula. But they're not shiny like our funnel webs. So the curtain webs, although look similar, are actually very different when we get up close. Look at that chestnut brown abdomen. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful spiders. If you can get past the sort of scary looking thing about them, they really are a very pretty spider. And as we said before, hopefully, being wild caught, there's a high possibility that these females will be gravid. And hopefully, once we get them settled down into these enclosures here, they'll soon web it all up, and a bit of luck, they'll feel at home enough that if they are gravid, then they will produce an egg sac, which will be really cool. That'll be a lovely thing to see. All right, so that's one of them in. Now we're not going to take any chances. I think what we're going to do is we're going to put the lid on this one. Because as you saw, very, very quick. Now what we're going to do, in this instance, her legs are actually on the outside. It's tempting to actually touch her leg to get her to go into the box. If we touch her leg, she might well just run straight outside, then be loose in the room, and we'll end up chasing her around. So in this instance, what we do is we take the lid and we cover off her escape route because we're just going to go straight in on top. We're going to be very, very gentle. You see now she can't get out even if she wanted to. The minute we touch that leg, we should get a response. Is she going to move? So, yeah. See that? Look, she came straight out. Now, if we touched that, she would have been out and on the desk in no time at all. So we're just going to, she's literally just got her toes there now, so we just want her toes down. There we go, she's down. So we're just going to leave that like that. Because if she stays settled, we'll come back and have another look at her. Right. So that was number one. Here is number two. They are really very, very beautiful. Now then. Here we go. You see they're very reluctant to actually leave their tub. Right. See if this one bounces in and comes straight back out again. Very good. You remember, if you just behave very, very gently, look at the colouring on that. You see these massive spinnerets, they are absolutely enormous. They are literally the length of the abdomen. And when you see them relaxed, they actually lay them across the back of the abdomen. They go almost flat to it. Not quite, but almost. And hopefully now actually you should be able to get some nice close-ups. You can see the hairs on the legs against that white webbing. You see she's got a little bit caught up around here now. Absolutely lovely. Very, very pretty. All right, let's see if we can't. No, she's like, no, I'm going to stay put. This could be one we end up chasing around the room. Let's see if we can tickle her out the other way. You see how they like the security of the web? She doesn't realise that her web is so small. There we go, nice and gently. See, we're maintaining contact there. We just wanted to find her feet. There we go. Look at that. This webbing that we saw there is coming straight from her spinnerets. Let me get a bit more light. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. That chestnut brown is really nice. Now we should be able to. This is the webbing that's on her spinnerets. You can see there? See how we're moving them? That is incredible. Look at that. She's probably thinking, what on earth is going on there? And we can literally pull that from her spinnerets. I don't know if the camera's picking that up.
Little.
You can literally just sort of get it. Fabulous. You can see it in the light. We will have to try a later date, try and get some really good footage of that, because that really is something special. Wonderful looking thing. Turn it around a little bit. There we go. Very, very cool. There's actually a bit of a blue sheen to the legs. Just about make that out. Now they've actually shown that they're a little bit easier than we were first anticipating. Many of these spiders are, especially things like the phalax, they tend to be really, really skittish, and all of this family are the same. They're really, really skittish, but they're generally quite a polite spider. They're nice and calm in the fact that they're not aggressive in any way. They're not showing any sort of form of defense or anything. They're being really, really good. Now this one over here is a little bit bigger. It's tiny bit bigger than this one. So what we're going to do now, we're going to keep these up. We'll get them up on the shelf, and then hopefully, I think we'll put them up on the top shelf as well, so they get a bit of extra warmth, and we'll see how they go. And it might be a case that we actually give them a little bit of extra warmth as well. We're going to be playing around with heat cables later on, and we're going to see whether some of our spiders will appreciate getting some localized heat, whereas, you know, not relying on just the room heat as well. Something that we used to do an awful lot with reptiles, but we've not done so much with spiders. So it'd be an interesting thing to see whether we can get some better results in that respect. Right, now when it comes down to food, these guys are going to be looking at taking on things more in the way of red runners. We can give them dubias, but they're quite a hard-shelled thing, a dubia roach. So I think these guys will benefit better from the soft-bodied red runners that we have. And an adult female red runner is a big meal for one of these. And it's only going to need one of them maybe once every 10 days, 14 days. And that will be enough to sustain this spider. It'll be plenty for it. You don't want to overdo these guys. Now in terms of lifespan, we're not 100% sure of how these are going to go. But I would imagine we're probably looking at around about anywhere between 3 and 5 years, maybe, if we're lucky. We've had the harmonicons now. We know of one that's over 5 years old. So there is a good prospect that these guys will be very, very similar in their ages as well, in their lifespans. So we're going to keep them 75 to 80% humidity, and heat wise, the same, 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And that should be more than enough to sustain these guys and keep them really well. Right, let's close these up. Well, I hope you enjoy seeing those and see that they're not actually quite as scary as they first appear. They do have a little bit of a look about them, a little bit horror movie look, but I think we've shown there that they are generally really quite calm. They're not too bad at all, as long as we're calm and gentle with them as well. And they are super, super pretty. The colouring, I'm not sure if the camera would have picked it up, but they have a beautiful chestnut brown, and that gold carapace is absolutely phenomenal. I think maybe in the future we could look at getting, we need to get something that's a little bit bigger. It'd be nice to do, say, a nice exhibit type enclosure for these guys. Maybe one of our custom tanks. When we get a bit more room, we could look at setting one of those up for one of these, because I think they would show, and they would give our Balforia an absolute run for their money in terms of webbing. They really are fantastic webbers. So that's going to be a cool project for the future. Right then, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and seeing they really are quite a stunning spider. Don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I'll see you soon, guys.